morning, everyone. Happy Mother's Day. Thanks for being here. It's a real pleasure to take part in this session this morning. Dr. Bill Hale has been a friend of ours for many years, and I'm pretty sure I met him through our attendance at a meditation retreat offered through Mingyur Rinpoche. He's a great practitioner too. He had several sessions here in the area years ago. And Dr. Hale, I'll tell you a little bit about him. He conducts a private practice of psychiatry in Lawrence and Overland Park. He has been teaching 8-week courses in mindfulness-based stress reduction for 31 years. After having taken the first residential internship in mindfulness-based stress reduction that was offered at the John Kabat-Zinn's Center for Mindfulness at the University of Massachusetts School of Medicine. For the last 3.5 years, he's worked with civic leaders in Ottawa, Kansas, not too far away, to bring about a mindful city. At this time, 4% of the population of that city has been trained in mindfulness, which is by far the highest percentage of any city in the country. So last November, the Ottawa City Commission declared Ottawa to be a mindful city. Dr. Hale also graduated from the University of Kansas Medical Center, followed by a psychiatry fellowship at the Carl Menninger School of Psychiatry. In addition, he did a 2-year internship in biofeedback and psychophysiologic therapy at the Voluntary Controls Program at Menninger. He was awarded a 1-year Fulbright Fellowship to do research of Ayurvedic medicine in India, which I would like to learn more about that as well. Welcome, Dr. Hale. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Amanda. It's a real pleasure to join all of you. I was participating in a conference last week that was held on Zoom, and I was pleasantly surprised, myself being a technophobe and not having done a lot of Zoom meetings, I was pleasantly surprised at how much community was possible seeing all the faces of people on the screen. So it's good to be with all of you this morning. Because we don't have lots of time, I'm going to talk a little bit about mindfulness, and then we'll do some experience of mindfulness. If I talked the whole time, then in the end, it would just be a bunch of words, and those would fade quickly from your mind. But if you have some direct experience, then that may ultimately be more meaningful. And I would also say that probably most of you have participated in a guided meditation exercise before, where you pay attention to the breath for a few minutes. This is going to be in some ways similar, but some ways different. So it will not be just what you've experienced before. I want to start off with a bit of description about what mindfulness is from practitioners of mindfulness. And let's see here. Hang on here, I have to get my technologic ducks in a row.
Are you looking to share your screen?
Yes, I am. I'm in the process of doing that. Yeah, here we go. All right, so this what you're going to see is some people in Ottawa describing their experience of mindfulness or defining mindfulness for you.
Oh, Dr. Hale, there's no sound. So when you share it, you'll need to click on share sound. You might try again.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead and say stop sharing and then share again. And at the bottom, when you share, it should have a little button to click that says share sound.
Okay, hang on here.
Here, let me. I may have to just stop you sharing and you try again.
Well, I'm trying to get back to the main screen here, the Zoom screen.
There you go. Do you see it again?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I see the little.
So when you hit the green start share at the bottom of that pop-up window, there's a little button you have to click that says share computer sound.
Lower left corner. Little checkbox.
Well, in the I'm not seeing that option.
So did you
But,
click the share screen button yet?
Yes, I did.
Okay, did a pop-up come up?
Let me.
You want to send me the link?
No, let's just skip that part.
Okay.
I was so looking forward to that part.
If it's on the web, you can send me a link and I'm happy to play it in the chat if you want to send me a link.
We'll skip that part.
Okay.
All right. So, so just briefly, what is mindfulness? There are two pieces of what mindfulness is. One is that it's bringing attention to present moment experience or to some aspect of present moment experience. Instead of thinking about the future or past, which is what we're doing very much of the time when we are engaged in ordinary activity. The second aspect of mindfulness is that it is relating to present moment experience non-judgmentally and unconditionally. Now, what we ordinarily do is we want things to be a particular way, and so if things are pleasant, we want more of that, we grasp onto that. If things are unpleasant, we try to get away from that, we try to change it, we try to avoid it, and we very often react to it in our thoughts, in our emotions, and or in our bodies. So another way of saying mindfulness is that it's a practice of awareness of present moment experience, and it's allowing that experience to be as it is, as opposed to trying to make it different or get away from it or grasp onto it. And yet another way of saying this is that learning mindfulness is a way of learning how to flow with the challenges of life with a sense of ease while being fully present, as opposed to reacting and resisting. So one of the aspects of all of this is that it's possible to have stressors in our lives and yet feel minimally stressed. We can't change the external conditions of our lives in a lot of cases. Sometimes we can, but often we can't. And the question that faces all of us is, how do we coexist with those conditions with a sense of ease as opposed to a sense of stressing? So one other thing I'll say about what mindfulness is concerns the word mindfulness. Mindfulness has become fashionable in the last 5 to 10 years. And a side effect of that is that there are lots of people talking about it and writing about it who really don't know much about it. They tend to conflate two different things. So the word mindfulness refers to a form of meditation, and there are many techniques for practicing mindfulness meditation. Also, the word mindfulness refers to a way of approaching moment-to-moment experience in daily life. And that way of experience, of approaching moment-to-moment experience, is having awareness in the present moment and allowing that experience to be as it is. So let's shift from this and let me get back to the full Zoom screen if I can. Which may or may not be possible. I'm wanting to get
The full Zoom screen like everybody's pictures?
yes,
We
and
just
with the buttons across the bottom. That's what I'm
Okay, sure.
wanting to
How
stop.
about I stop that
there.
and then you can, is that good?
Yes, I'm wanting to stop sharing my screen, and I guess that's
I did that, yes.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
So let's do some experiencing of mindfulness, if you wish. I invite you to become comfortable in your chair. And I would also suggest that you sit in a way where you're not slouching, but relatively erect with your back decently supported if you can. And at any point, if you feel a need to shift, then please do so. And you can do this with eyes open or closed, whichever feels most comfortable. And I invite you to just notice your body sitting in this chair. Feeling the pressure of your back and legs and buttocks against the chair. And then noticing your breath. Noticing the sensations of breathing in and breathing out. And taking note of where in your body you are noticing those sensations. Are you noticing breath sensations in your chest, or maybe your abdomen. Or maybe you're noticing the changes in pressure of your back against the chair as you breathe. Or maybe you're noticing breath sensations at the nose. I'd like you to direct your attention to the abdomen, taking note of how it may expand and contract as the breath goes in and out. And take note of where in the abdomen you are observing sensations related to the breath. For instance, is it at the front of the abdomen that you're noticing sensations? Or the sides? Or in the lower back? Let's bring our attention to the front of the abdomen. And take note of sensations at the skin as the abdomen expands and contracts. See if you can notice some sensations of clothing on the skin as the abdomen moves in and out. Perhaps a very, very light touch. Perhaps very subtle, or perhaps not. And then moving a little deeper, take note of sensations in the wall of the abdomen at the front. Feeling how that contracts and expands. There might be sensations of tension and releasing as the abdomen expands and contracts. And then bringing attention around to the sides of the abdomen. Noticing sensations in the wall of the abdomen there. Perhaps some sensations of expanding and contracting, or tensing and releasing. And taking note of sensations also at the skin, at the sides of the abdomen. Perhaps feeling clothing touching the skin and lightly moving on the skin as the breath goes in and out. And then taking note of sensations in the lower back. Feeling sensations there of changes of pressure of the back against the surface behind it as the breath goes in and out. And now shifting attention to the front of the chest. Noticing sensations in the chest wall there. You might notice sensations of expanding or contracting as the breath goes in and out. There might be sensations of tensing and releasing. Bringing attention also to the skin on the front of the chest. Noticing what sensations there are of clothing touching the skin or moving slightly against the skin as you breathe. And bringing attention to the sides of the chest. At the skin, noticing sensations of clothing on the skin. In the chest wall, at the sides, noticing tensing and releasing, or expanding and contracting. Taking note of the fact that there may be milder expansion and contraction at the sides of the chest than at the front. And then shifting attention around to the back, the upper back. Noticing sensations at the skin there as the breath goes in and out. And noticing also the chest wall at the back. Noticing the changing of sensations in the chest wall at the back as breath goes in and out. And bringing a sense of curiosity to the sensations in the various locations. Curiosity about what you can discover there. Instead of a sense of, okay, there's that, done, move on. Seeing what else you can find. Now shifting attention to the nose. Noticing sensations of the breath there. And taking note of what part of the nose your attention has been drawn to. Has your attention been drawn to sensations toward the end of the nose or the outer part of the nose, the openings of the nostrils, or to sensations further up, further in? Well, let's bring attention to the sensations around the openings of the nostrils, the lower part of the nose. Taking note of how the sensations are different when air is flowing in versus out. Taking note of the fact that you can probably tell that air is flowing one direction or the other, even though it's a rather subtle sensation. And take note of whether there are sensations of moistness or dryness in that area. Also taking note of sensations of temperature in that lower part of the nose. There might be feelings of warmth or coolness as air flows through that area. Take note also of whether the temperature sensations are the same as air moves in versus out, or are they different? And now, seeing what you can notice further up or further in or further back in the nose. What sensations are there to discover? And are there sensations of dryness or moistness further up, in, or back? Sensations of warmth or coolness as the air flows. And now continuing on your own for a minute or so, continuing to observe breath sensations and allow them to be however they are, letting your mind rest on those sensations, using them as a focus for attention. And now we'll begin to bring this meditation practice to a close. At your pace, when you are ready, allowing your eyes to open. If your body wants to stretch, giving it a little stretch. And why don't we open it up at this point for questions or comments about mindfulness? There are tons more that I could say about it, but let's focus on what you may, thoughts or questions or comments that you may have.
Bill, can you tell us anything from the videos that we weren't able to see about what the folks down in Ottawa were saying?
I'm not going to try to reproduce their spontaneous comments about the their experience of mindfulness. What I would say instead is that I'll just quickly note the fact that mindfulness practice is beneficial for setting the tone of one's day, to be able to proceed through it with a greater sense of ease. And there's a ton of research showing that it's useful for a variety of physical conditions, including chronic pain and many other things, and that it's equal in its effectiveness for depression and anxiety as either medication alone or psychotherapy alone, which is, even to me as a believer in mindfulness, surprisingly powerful. Thanks for the question, John.
Sure. Speak.
This is Carol Enos. I have to admit that my personality is so different from that. I constantly am looking forward to the next thing. And so I was kind of resisting what you were telling me to do. However, I did listen, and I got so sleepy that my head nodded sometimes, and I could have fallen out of the chair. It was a strange feeling because I tended to be resisting, but at the same time I was affected by it. Thank you. My shoulders needed that. We didn't get to the shoulders of the neck, and that's where I have the most tension, but I'm going to try it. Thank you.
Yeah, the word resisting is a really applicable word. We all resist large fractions of our experience. We resist in our bodies with bracing and tensing and being in fight or flight modes. And we resist in our emotions, and we resist in our thoughts. And for all of us, the extent to which we resist our experience is mostly outside of awareness. And also the extent to which we resist or react is directly correlated to the degree of distress we experience, or another synonym for distress is suffering. Our day-to-day suffering, whether it's microscopic suffering or major suffering, is directly correlated with the extent to which all of us resist and react to our experience.
May I add just a bit more?
Yeah.
I have a tremendous amount of chronic pain, and it made me wonder if I'm causing it myself sometimes
No.
by not paying attention to the moment. I'll try it.
I'm going to share my screen again to make a comment about that.
There it is. You got it.
So are you, whoops, hang on here. Are you seeing a formula now? Okay, good.
Suffering equals pain and reactivity.
Right. For all of us, we might have physical pain, or we might have emotional pain, or we simply have unpleasant experience of any sort. And in this formula, pain stands in for any of that. And then the extent to which we react against it or resist it, you multiply those two things together, and that's our suffering. And while this formula is a metaphor, it's a fairly accurate metaphor, actually. Oops, hang on. I thought I had another slide there with some numbers in it. But if you think about a pain scale of 1 to 10, or 0 to 10 rather, if you plug in 10, say here for pain, and then if we're reacting or resisting at a level of 10 out of 10, then our suffering or our distress level is not 10, it's 100. And again, we may or may not be able to affect our pain level. If we're lucky, we can, but potentially we can alter our degree of reacting and resisting. And that's a learned skill set that's
reactivity.
one gets better and better at over time.
Well,
So I want to get out of screen sharing now. Except there we go. All right.
I have
Well, we've got, yeah, please.
This technique that we did today, are there other mindfulness techniques, for example, gazing at a flower or something else, or is it always your own reacting to your own body and your feelings?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are innumerable ways of formal mindfulness of practice. By formal, I mean sitting down and taking time out to do a formal meditation practice. And also there is what is called informal practice, which is carrying mindful awareness into one's ordinary activity over the course of the day. In terms of formal practice, there's a common one is something called the body scan, in which you move awareness through the body from toes to head. There are practices of focusing on sound. There are mindfulness meditation techniques of observing the arising and passing of thoughts, as well as the presence of moments of rest in the mind where thought isn't arising. So there are tons of techniques. I would say that another conflation of the word of mindfulness that is very confusing these days is some people use it to refer to any kind of meditation or any kind of relaxation that's not even meditation. But thinking about meditation, all of the forms of meditation in the world could be grouped into two categories, which are mindfulness type meditations and concentration meditations. In a concentration practice, you hold your attention on one thing, one pointedly, like a mantra in TM, for instance. Whereas in mindfulness, concentration is certainly part of it, but you're observing change moment by moment. When we were focusing on the breath, we were observing change moment by moment in breath sensations, and we were allowing those breath sensations to be however they were. And we were doing the best we could at those two components, and the best we can in any given moment of allowing and of attending may be pretty good, or it may be not very good at all. But you know, if we're doing the best we can in the moment of attending and allowing, then we're doing our job well as a meditator.
Bill, let me ask you to put your shrink hat on for just a second.
Sure.
Should I feel bad that I'm still happy with my anxiety meds, that I'm not trying hard enough to address that with meditation?
No, you shouldn't feel bad at all. You should feel good that you've got something that hopefully works. And, you know, meditation or exercise or diet or what have you will work for us if we're ready for it, or if it's something that we're motivated for and interested in. And if it's not, then, you know, no need to force yourself for something that may not be of interest, and certainly no need to feel like you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
Well, Dr. Hale, I have a question. What you're talking about can have a profound effect on a person, you know, if you enact this. But I would like to know, in your own experience, how did you come to be aware of this, and how did you move into that way of teaching?
Yeah. Well, I've been meditating for 47 years since college. And I originally got to meditation through the good fortune of getting to be a research subject for Elise and Elmer Green when they were doing research of brainwave biofeedback. And then in residency, one of the people at Menninger when I was a fellow named Jack Engler, who's one of the handful or so of people who brought this form of meditation to this country from Asia back in the late 60s and early 70s. And to tell you the truth, when I first tried to do mindfulness practice based on what I learned about it from Jack Engler, I thought, this doesn't feel to me like meditation at all, because it didn't feel like what I'd learned to do from biofeedback. But I came back to it after some years and haven't stopped.
Thank you, Dr. Hale. I would just like to make a brief comment, and we'll have time for another question before we have to say goodbye for today. I've got to know Earl Nearing better and better the longer that I knew him, and I don't think he ever mentioned the word mindfulness, but he exemplified it to a greater degree than almost anyone I know. And I think it led to his reaching almost 100 years before he passed on. So if there's another question, I'd like to have someone say it now.
Corinne had her hand up.
Good morning. I actually happen to live in Ottawa, but have not had the opportunity to take advantage of your many offerings yet so far, but I hope there will be additional opportunities. And I was so looking forward to the video to see some of our community members. My question has to do with telemedicine and whether you engage in that, particularly in this time when people are needing support. Is that something that you have done or would consider doing?
Yes, I'm conducting appointments from home via the telephone or sometimes by video conferencing. And I've been surprised at how well that's working. I think for the vast majority of my clients and for me, it's been an easy transition because we know each other well. In most cases, we've worked together for a long time. And so I've been pleasantly surprised. I will also say regarding offerings in Ottawa, I've recently conducted 3 meditation sessions of an hour, either through telephone conference or video conference. And those are available to anyone in Ottawa or Lawrence or anywhere for that matter. I've been sending out email announcements for those. And in Ottawa, also the city has posted announcements on their Facebook page, and the mental health center has as well. But if anybody wants to receive those announcements from me, I'm happy to receive email addresses, and I can send you announcements. I noticed, I'll also say, oh, well, never mind. That's all, Graham.